China is talking tough on South Asia's rivers, but behind the cascade of rhetoric lies a dried-up threat. Meanwhile, New Delhi isn't cornered. In fact, it's just calmly reading between the lines of Beijing's water diplomacy. Well, only last week, China celebrated the filling of Pakistan's Chinese-funded Mohmand Dam. State media, in fact, celebrated it and painted it as a strategic answer to India. But here's the kicker. New Delhi doesn't see it as a threat. Why? Well, because this is all theatre. Beijing claims India wields its midstream geography as a water weapon. But that's rich, coming from the one country that actually holds the upstream card on the Brahmaputra and has stopped sharing critical flow data since 2022. Let's be clear. India has not weaponized water, does not intend to do so. In fact, it has upheld treaty obligations under the Indus Water Treaty for decades in face of state-sponsored Pakistani terror, even when it was politically unpopular. Meanwhile, China threatens to weaponize the Yarlung Tsangpo feeding the Brahmaputra. But that would hit Bangladesh too. China's silence on that speaks volumes. If China ever decides to tighten the tap, it won't just affect India, it will drown Bangladesh, destabilize Pakistan's own restive regions, which is Balochistan, where Chinese projects are already targets of unrest. So let's not fall for Beijing's water theatrics. This is less a flood and more a faucet turned up for attention. India isn't under pressure, but it is watching patiently as others get soaked in China's illusion of control. Let me quickly now put forth the big questions that we always ask viewers on the stories that we do a deep dive on. First up, as far as the big questions is concerned, is China building dams or is it building influence? Next up, what does Pakistan lose by gaining China's water help? Next, can Bangladesh survive China's upstream squeeze? What will happen to Dhaka, which is already facing threats on multiple counts? Is China backing Pakistan only for its resources? At the end of the day, it's all about protecting one's own interest, and that seems to be the case for Beijing in Islamabad. And lastly, is water just China's cover for greater control? And talking on that and more is Soumya Awasthi, who's a fellow at ORF and a counter-terrorism expert, joining me on the show. Soumya, now there's been a lot of, water flowing quite literally here under the Himalayas, so to say, but explain to us the empty threats that are being made by China, the larger impact this could have, and more importantly, the leverage that India has, if at all such a scenario does come through.
Thank you, Gaurie. So, firstly, we should understand that this whole Indus Water Treaty discussion that is going on is being there in the mind of the government in India for a very long time, for many reasons, which included climate as one of the biggest reasons for us to relook and think over the treaty. But the Pahalgam attack actually just gave us the right time to use it for telling Pakistan that how it is not doing or following the preamble of the Indus Water Treaty, because Indus Water Treaty was precisely written and shared for goodwill reasons. Now, there are no goodwill reasons that is left between the two nations, and the treaty is actually being used as a pressure point to make Pakistan understand that the kind of tactics and theatrics that they are using in collusion with China is not actually going to help them, in fact. So putting it on hold and giving it a terminology as under review is basically a signaling that we are trying to make Pakistan understand. But if they do not understand this, we have many other ways to go about it. And like you highlighted how China is trying to build a narrative that was much expected. So, there is an Article 9 of the treaty which actually talks about effectively holding back the cooperation because of the, in various ways, like the delay on the contested procedural steps, or you can just slow down or restrict the data sharing, reduce the operational engagement. There are many ways in which India can continue to hold its pressure on Pakistan. And the violation of that spirit of cooperation is definitely one of the key areas where we are going to keep on talking till it reaches the right ears. Of course, India is not signatory to...
I want to understand from you, yes, of course, what some of the points that you highlighted are very important. But let me understand from you the fact that if at all a statement or comment that's coming in hinting at Chinese thought process, which is about, protecting its interests in Pakistan, how do you read that at a time when there's been a bit of a thaw between the India-China relationship, but China's true colors came to fore during Operation Sindoor, making India very wary of any commentary that may come out from Beijing? So how do you see all of that in the context of a possible China support for Pakistan, given the fact that India does hold several cards for Pakistan, but it's a complex situation here, isn't it?
It is a complex situation, and I'm sure that the government was very much prepared to, face these kinds of issues when it comes to water, because we know and we have this apprehension that China may stop the flow of the water on the other end. But given all that, I think India, the moment India decided that it will hold the treaty in abeyance, it started working on this very important navigation project, the Tulbul navigation project. And I think India is going ferociously on this project right now with a tight deadline, so that they can actually balance certain kind of maintain some kind of release the pressure that China may threaten us with. So far, of course, there have not been anything beyond rhetorics. They are mostly busy in helping Pakistan build up their capabilities of holding water and their dam projects. But there has not been any direct escalation of water. So till the time it hasn't happened, I think India will also not go out loud and talk big. Yeah.